no.
We better not call that.
Yeah, that's what I kept saying. Is I kept trying to tell people, like, you probably don't actually want to go and call this riparian because it's gonna end up having unintended consequences.
All right, I think we should get started. Is everyone
Forge ahead.
ready
So-
to? You ready? Yeah. Okay. All right, well, I'm calling this working session to order, and I'm calling it a working session because we don't have a quorum tonight. If if more members trickle in and we have a quorum, then we'll reevaluate the plan. But for now, I propose that we table the agenda we had for tonight until our next meeting, and use sometime tonight, we can have a short meeting, to deal with what was item 8, which is to talk briefly about the city plan, the milestones that we've already, identify the milestones towards completion that we have right now, and then discuss what we learned from Sustainable Montpelier Coalition and what our next steps are going forward. Does that sound okay to everyone? It's kind of a fun discussion.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you put the first part on the agenda, so let's talk about what you wanted to talk about, and then we can dive into the part. So you had, I don't know if it was just the way you worded it, but it looked, identify this year's milestones toward completion. Did you have particular items in mind? Or is it more of a general?
Yeah, there was, I mean, some of it was more of a general, I mean, we all wanna get this going. We know we've got up to maybe 12 sections. We talked about kind of attacking this
Yeah.
plan in a number of ways, and if we kind of come up to a consensus of what we think we wanna, how we wanna go after it, I can start pulling things together, and then people can react to it, which is kind of what I think. So if we've got, 10 or 12 chapters we're eventually gonna want, I can just start putting together, I think eventually we'll want, our goal was to have a short chapter with implementation.
Yep.
And I think, we can start pulling together the resources, we can get the links on the website, and then we can just start building some chapters.
When you say resources, are you talking about background materials to review?
Background materials for some of them, because I think what we want to be able to do is to digest our plans down into something that people are more likely to read and use. So we're looking at 1,500 words, 2,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
Total for a chapter, but because there's so much information that you need, we're really going to be referencing a number of other documents. So if people want more, they can start drilling down into them. But to understand, these are our housing goals, these are our housing needs, or this is why housing is important. We have 6 or 7 housing reports that have been done since 2000. So we don't need to restate those if we just go through and
Yeah.
the housing need report from 2014 identified 6 things, and this is
Yeah.
what we found.
Yeah.
And then you just put a link on it, but we will need to have those documents. I have them on mine, and I assume
Yeah.
ship them to the Google Drive, or I can keep them on the iDrive here at the server.
Be good to have them all together.
Yeah, I think if you want
But
to
if
load
people
up
want
as much
those-
as
There's
you
so
can.
many.
And if people, want to
let's
look at
see.
them, we can do that. And so that was my thought, was I would just start pulling together some of these short chapters and then some of these implementation plans. Just, as thought through as much as we can, and then we can start, deciding, rolling out, how, going out to the various committees to start getting things. Because it sounded like rather than doing a couple at a time, we were like, let's put everything together.
What are the implementation plans and where are those coming from?
Those should be coming a lot more from the committees, but I
okay.
think we need to start with a framework. Some with housing and energy are two that
So
have very well-developed plans
Define our
and
framework through
refining
having
it.
those examples.
But I think it would be easier for places like the Conservation Commission or these other ones who haven't put them together to kind of be given a framework of, here it
Yeah.
is, you know, massage this, change this, but here's the overall outline and structure that we're looking for, and we can help them work their way through some other things. I know I met with the Parks Commission, today's Monday, so it would have been Friday. A newer member of the Parks Commission who is very excited about the opportunity to look at these. So I think we've got, you know, parks will be another one, community services, utilities and facilities, transportation. There's just a lot of chapters that I can start pulling together resources on and put together, as I said, for a couple thousand words.
So one thing I think we should do before we get into the weeds of drafting chapters and implementation plans is talk as a commission about the big picture. I mean, the sort of the land use map that we see for the city, and we have all of these goals that we heard from all of the committees at the all-committee kickoff meeting. We have the sort of ideas that the Sustainable Montpelier Coalition provided for us, and maybe we could look at some of those maps and think about, I'd just like us to have kind of a broader discussion about what kind of transportation goals do we have, and what are the ideas that we've been presented with, and are those, do those seem reasonable to us? Do we have questions to kick back to some of the committees about the goals? I think we should spend more time shaping the goals up front, just to make sure, you know, we feel like we fully understand the bounds of the goal, and then once we feel like we agree with the goals, they make sense within the broader context of the city plan and sort of the land use map. I like the map, so I like the idea of a map because I'm very visual. But however it is you want to look at it, and then from there they could go forward and do the work, you know, knowing that we agree with the direction they're going in and we don't have any issues with it. That's kind of how I was thinking we could be more productive, but I've never done this before, and Mikey and John, you have, so.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind is the city has a new tool, our JS Hub, that they're using for a couple of things, like snowplow tracking, and I'm not sure what else, but one of the things that it does well and that we should use it for is for gathering input, basically. So
Oh, yeah.
we'll be able to put up a map that has a number of, we can decide what layers we want on there, zoning districts, the river corridors, etc. And then have people, just comment on it. And I think if we just provide a good amount of guidance or an intro on it, that'll be a good way to capture feedback and input from people at a citywide level. And we started to do this, and we can pick up where we left off, but I like the idea of framing it in the terms of